From the land down under, with the rock at its centre, comes the little Aussie watchman. The most violent of all nations, whose policies, both direct and indirect, have led to the greatest amount of deaths, excluding abortions, where China is the clear winner in the last 10 years. The answer is not Saudi Arabia, despite their heinous crimes. It is not North Korea, despite being run by a dictatorial madman. It is not Russia. The answer is America. This nation who believes that it is the most democratic country on earth. A nation that strongly believes that it stands for God, stands for good, and stands for righteousness in this world. They believe they are great. However, they are under a great illusion. Propagandised by their mainstream media, which is clearly run by a globalist cartel, run by elements within the intelligence community. Their worldview cannot deal with the clear facts. The most obvious is the wars in Iraq. The Second Gulf War was based on deliberate lies that were known to be lies at the time. There were never weapons of mass destruction. The real reason for the war is more to do with oil, the American dollar, and the quest for geopolitical power than it had to do with the Iraqi people. There are varying reports of the number of deaths in Iraq, but it is probably close to 500,000. That is 500,000 people who died because of an American lie. Second is Syria. In Syria, America is supporting Islamic jihadists against a sovereign state. In fact, it is admitted that America is not only supplying arms and training for these so-called rebel groups, but the CIA pays them to do so. They are therefore mercenaries rather than rebels. The distinction between the rebel groups America funds and ISIS is rather tenuous. In fact, much manpower and arms delivered by the US have made their way to ISIS. The blood toll in the Syrian conflict is over 300,000. This is not even accounting for the vast migration of people into Europe caused by the conflict. The saddest thing of all, that it is war that needn't have happened. The roots of the conflict are not in the role of that Assad played, but it is firmly connected to the role America has played in the Middle East in destabilizing Iraq and Syria, and also its quest to control the energy market. America and Europe are trying to reduce Europe's exposure to Russian-influenced pipe supplies. Thus, the Syrian war is primarily about two competing gas pipelines, one proposed by Qatar, backed by Europe and America, the other by Iran, backed by Russia, both of which traverse through Syria into Europe. Assad's mistake was to choose the Iranian pipeline. The war is about geopolitical control of energy, and America is trying to reduce Russian influence in this area and the Middle East. As a side note, the only group that has ever been proven to have chemical weapons and use it are the rebels. Third was the war in Libya. By supporting the forces allied against Gaddafi, America was not doing it for the benefit of the Libyan people. This becomes clearer and clearer every day with the destruction of Libya. From being a rather prosperous nation, it is now a jihadist nightmare. American-backed Muslim jihadists in Libya, not for the benefit of the Libyan people, but again it was highly likely because of oil and the American dollar. Gaddafi was planning to sell his oil in gold and not the American dollar in order to build an African bank based on gold. Up to 25,000 people were killed in the conflict. Once more, greed and power were the prime movers. No other country of the last 20 years has been so violent, so addicted to greed, so propagandized. Great? What a joke. They are great at killing, great at propaganda, great at lies, great at stealing. Can the Donald turn this around? With the deep state, the global Western cartel, and the media vehemently opposed to him at every side, his hands are tied, and his effect will be likely temporary and slight. As it says in the Word of God, those who kill by the sword will also die by the sword.